Hello, welcome back to you in today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days. In today's video, it's going to take us into the start of October. So I've got some changeable weather coming up. Nothing too dramatic showing up, but certainly more changeable than we had it through the first half of September. I've talked about this in videos over the past few days. Looks more changeable. There will be some bands of rain coming through, although a fair amount of dry weather at times down in the south. So a classic autumn spell of weather, really, where we're alternating between low pressure and high pressure and having a fair amount of dry weather in the south, but wettest conditions up in the north. But even in the south, there will be a few bands of rain coming through at times. I'll go with detail in a second. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, this links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse, widgets, click through links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, helping us to pay for our website, thanks very much for doing that. Just starting off with centering temperature, so we are now under the record. So record stands at 16.8 from 2006. We've just gone under that. We're down to 16.7 provisionally now to the 21st yesterday, and normally nearly 3 degrees above average, so still exceptionally warm September. But we're not going to get the record. We're not going to beat 2006. I think CET will probably finish up somewhere in the high 15s by the time we get through to the end of the month. So it's not going to be a record-breakingly warm September, but it will be significantly, very significantly warmer than average September. So these are the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts for next week to 10 days. This takes us into the start of October. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, and the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, and red, orange extrapolates to high pressure. So the ECMWF places us in quite a showery westerly flow. We've got a deep trough up to the north of the country, a ridge around Spain, and the tight lines here indicating the jet stream coming more or less through the country, rather like that. And if you follow the air back, actually it's originating from sort of northern Canada and Greenland, coming across the Atlantic. Now this will be modified because it's October, so it won't be that cold, but it's certainly going to be a cooler start to October than we've had during September, if this was to come off. It's quite a bit of chopping and changing for early October, though, at the moment. The GFS is very similar. Again, we've got this ridge up to the north and the northeast. I should say a trough up to the north and northeast. The ridge is out to the west and the southwest. And again, the jet stream is coming through like that. So, again, we're aligning the jet stream northwest to southeast there, which would be quite unsettled and quite cool as well, with the air originating somewhere from around here, from the south of Greenland. So cool, changeable is a signal really from the ECWF and the GFS models as we're running into the start of October. However, there's a lot of uncertainty associated with that idea. Not all members of the GFS ensembles are in agreement with that by any means. So this is the GFS ensemble graph for London for the next 2 weeks. The red line here is the 30-year temperature average. We're about average now. We're going to go briefly above average for time over the weekend. That's associated with an area of low pressure coming off the Atlantic. Once that clears through, it goes quite cool. Then next week, we get a little bit of a push up early in the week. Again, probably associated with an area of low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. And then very much scattered with the ensemble members beyond that. So this is the 1st of October just here, by which time we've got something like a 15, maybe a bit more than a 15 degree temperature differential between the warmest and coldest members of the ensemble. So there are several members that are going really quite chilly for the start of October, but other members are fairly warm with the upper air temperature. So a lot of uncertainty there for the early part of October. Precipitation shows that we've got a fair amount of dry weather for the rest of this week, but into weekend, that area of precipitation spikes just there is associated with the low pressure coming through Saturday and into Sunday. Maybe go through the start of next week. Looks like we've got showers really for that period. And then maybe turning more definitively wetter actually through the first week of October. But again, that is associated with all of this uncertainty in terms of the temperatures. Temperature anomalies for next week, 22nd through to 30th of September, generally a little bit milder than average. Precipitation anomalies almost drier than average through most of the country. Bit wetter than average in the far northwest of Scotland and down into Northern Ireland, but most places still coming out a little bit drier than average in the coming week. So here's the generic chart. This is the GFS for Monday. We've got a ridge down to the south. Low pressure is out to the west. Go through to Tuesday. That's when we get that second push of quite warm air on Tuesday, but it is associated with this deep area of low pressure to the northwest of Scotland. So it's a warm sector that's going to drag in a lot of cloud, probably patchy rain and humid feel, followed by a cold front, which will clear the air as we go through into Wednesday, putting the air back down from the northwest. Remember, high pressure stays quite close to the south early next week, so it will be fairly dry down there. Always going to be wetter and windier up to the north and the west. Into the second half of next week, still keeping a lot of ridging close to the south, more unsettled up to the north, and the air mass is probably quite cool through the second half of next week. But time to get through to the first weekend of September, the idea is to build this ridging very temporarily before the next low pressure rattles through on Sunday. So it does look changeable. Driest conditions in the south, wettest conditions in the north. Temperature's a bit up and down. That's the latest run idea from a 6 o'clock run of the GFS. The ECMWF looks like this. So for Monday, again, we've got a ridge down to the south, low pressure up to the north and the west. We get that push of quite humid air on Tuesday associated with this area of low pressure. That clears through on Wednesday, something cooler and fresher from the north and from the west. Go through to Thursday, high pressure remains close to the south, low pressure to the north. And then, as we go through the start of October, that low pressure starts to dig in from the north of the west, turns the flow round to the northwest, which is quite cool and showery as we run up towards day 10, which is sunny 2nd of October. Air's coming down from the northwest with low pressure in the flow, so it will be unsettled and really quite cool there for the start of October. It's quite different to what the GFS is doing. So a lot of uncertainty really for early October. I think what we can say is that next week will be up and down with the temperatures. 1 or 2 days next week will be quite warm down in the south. Other days will be fairly cool. Going to be showering mostly in the north with outbreaks of rain, quite strong winds at times as well for the northern part of the country. The south will be drier, close to that ridge. As we move through to October, really uncertain, probably turning cooler and more unsettled. I think that's the way models are trending, despite that 6 o'clock run of the GFS, which is a little bit more settled. I think overall, models are probably trending more unsettled and cooler for early October, but quite a lot of uncertainty with that. Right, that's how we're looking next week, 10 days. Tomorrow we'll do JMA Friday, having a look at the weather for the coming month with the Japanese CFS B2 models. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.